Bungie's new game Marathon has hit the market, and its reception is probably not what the development company and their shareholders had in mind. With about 88,000 all-time peak players on Steam, Marathon pulled way less buzz compared to the indie game Slay the Spire 2, which released on the same day as Marathon. Slay the Spire 2 sits around more than 500,000 all-time peak players at the time of recording. I am aware that these two games are not comparable, but the difference in the numbers they collectively pulled speaks volume. One game is made by an indie company called Megacrit consisting of 10 core members, while Bungie developed Marathon with estimated 300 devs. Keep in mind that Bungie invested an estimated budget of $250 million plus to create Marathon, and that's excluding marketing budget. If you calculate the revenue roughly adding console players to Marathon, let's say they sold around 600,000 copies worldwide with a price point of $40, the revenue would be $24 million, while Slay the Spire 2 with 3 million copies sold in its first week with a price point of $25 would have generated $75 million in comparison. That's triple the amount of Marathon. So how does an indie game beat a giant AAA game with massive resources commercially? Side note, this is not the first time that this happened. Reflecting to these commercial performances, would you say that Marathon is a bad game? Where did the creative decision go wrong that the performances tanked the potential of this game? To save you some time, I have a short answer to these questions. Marathon is a good game. Marathon is in air quotes a fun game to play. It's one of the toughest games I've ever played, but it's fun to figure out the nature of its gameplay, especially if you have someone that's as curious as yourself, like my little brother. Shout out to him. Boom Draxus. It is fun because it's an extraction shooter. There is something about the nature of extraction shooters where you have a high risk and high reward dopamine kick if it works out in your favor. If not, you better brace yourself to the lowest ego hit you could get, which in return gives you the opportunity to reflect and make better decisions in the next tries. But the truth is, extraction shooters is not for everyone. The high level of stress could be off-putting for people who just wants to play games to unwind. So what happened to Marathon? If you're ready for a deep dive, then let's get this video started. Bungie is known for its mega franchise called Destiny, and this game has been around for a decade. Destiny's core game loop is what we call a looter shooter, where you run around solo or with a group to finish quests and loot better gear, so you can do harder quests and loot even better gears, and so on. It also has instances or dungeons where you go in as a group with other bosses and game mechanics, so you can hit the real deal of loots. The gameplay loop is well established and known in other franchises like World of Warcraft, but there is one thing that sets apart Bungie from other games, and I will come back to this later. Additionally to the PvE aspect, Destiny's series is also well known for its PvP side of gameplay. I get reminded of the PvP aspect of Destiny whenever I'm playing Marathon. Still very different, but you can sense the DNA of Bungie in the new game. Now the biggest difference in Marathon compared to Destiny is the game genre entirely. While Destiny is a massive online shooter-looter RPG, that's a mouthful to say, Marathon is an extraction shooter at its core. I think this is one of the decisions that has been made that contributes to the low commercial performance, in my humble opinion. In Bungie's massive multiplayer online RPG shooter Destiny, you never had to worry about losing your gear. I remember still today that I had to keep in mind what day the legendary seller shows up in the hub so I can buy legendary guns, but once you have it, you can die as much as you want in Destiny. In the end, you'll get revived and the guns are still safe in your collections. Not in Marathon though. As an extraction shooter, you'll go in either with a sponsored kit, that's like a free loadout in Arc Raiders, but if you haven't played Arc Raiders, then just imagine a very basic loadout where it doesn't hurt at all when you lose it. The challenge in this is, of course, to be skilled enough to take out either the PvE characters or NPCs, or even other players who has better gear than you. Once you die, it's gone. Not forever, but in circulation within the game. Meaning it's now in the other players' hands or in their vaults. You could invest more gear into every run, but you also have to be aware that it doesn't mean that you're invincible. Better gear gives you at most seconds longer to survive, but in the heat of the moment, those seconds feel like a difference of worlds in between. This management of risk investment strategies, but also the execution of said strategies, is what makes extraction shooters fun. But if you are used to hoard guns and you are now in a game where you potentially lose guns every run, the games couldn't be more different, like opposites of extremes. So I totally understand when the core Bungie players can't really transition from one game to the other. The gun gameplay in Marathon and respectively in Destiny as well is very satisfying. When you're dealing with things that you're doing every round, such as shooting at NPCs or players, if the feedback of said gunplay was okay at best, the game won't last long commercially. I think that Marathon hit this gun mechanic quite well, and I haven't even found every gun yet, and that makes me excited to find about every gun in this game. Right now, my brother and I, as duos, are just focused on being able to finish the quests and just, air quotes again, survive the rounds, even if you encounter other players. There are different roles that you can play in Marathon called the Runners, who have different roles and skills that you can use, just like in Destiny. My brother runs as the healer and I'm a scout. This has been a good synergy in the game so far, as healing stuff are sometimes pretty rare on the field, and knowing where the enemies are is always a strategic advantage. In this case, knowledge is definitely power. So needless to say, I have lots of fun figuring out this game, but I also can totally understand why this has lower player counts than expected. So, is it worth it? If you like high risk, high reward, adrenaline pumping, fast-paced strategic decision-making extraction shooter, then yes, you should definitely try it. But saying it out loud, I realized why this game is not for everyone, because it's very niche. And using a third of Bungie's workforce to work on a game that is a hardcore niche is ironically pretty high risk itself. We'll have to see about Bungie's high reward part, but as of right now, the tide is pretty heavy to turn around. But there is no one else to blame than Bungie's actions and decisions itself. They and the shareholders are the only one who put themselves into these situations. Marathon is a really fun game, but it is such grand departure of what the usual Bungie players are known for. And additionally to that, for a general game enjoyer, extraction shooters are still very niche in these days. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to focus on being open-minded. I think it's the best thing that you can do for yourself to stay curious. I understand that not everyone can afford $40 to just try a game out, but maybe you have friends that can let you try out the game. So I'll end this video with the thing that I wanted to say, which is, if you're curious enough to blend out the negative noise that this game generated and you have $40 to spare, and you like high risk, high reward gameplay, then maybe this curiosity and open-mindedness of yours will reward you with a game that is fun to you. The more you can find people to play with together, the more you'll have fun for sure. And I'm not even sponsored by Marathon. If you'd like to see more gaming commentary videos like these, then click on the video shown right now.